With just a month left until he returns to the Oval Office, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump on Tuesday held his first news conference since his election victory 6 weeks ago. Let's discuss more with Voice of America correspondent Chris Casquejo. Welcome back, Chris.
Good to be with you.
So, Chris, during his news conference on Tuesday, did he hint at the direction that he intends to pursue on the diplomatic front once he takes office next month?
Yeah, that news conference on Tuesday, President-elect Trump said he's spoken with representatives of more than 100 countries. Now, experts predict that while he might show interest in resuming dialogue with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, it's unlikely to be an early priority. Voice of America spoke with Gary Seymour, who's the former White House coordinator for weapons of mass destruction, and he said that Trump might be willing to resume summit diplomacy with Kim Jong-un, but such discussions are unlikely to be high on the administration's agenda, at least in the first few days of the administration. And Seymour cites the war in Ukraine, various conflicts in the Middle East, and even in Asia, U.S.-China relations as being more pressing issues for the new administration to deal with. Meanwhile, Daniel Snyder, who's a lecturer in East Asian Studies at Stanford University in California, highlighted challenges for South Korea if U.S.-North Korea talks do resume. He said Trump might bypass South Korea entirely, as he did during his first term.
So handling Korean Peninsula issues may not be his priority, but has there been any reaction from Trump regarding the impeachment of the South Korean president and the whole political turmoil resulting from the martial law order?
So far, no reaction from the incoming President-elect Trump or any of his key cabinet appointees as of now.
Well, but what about the current Biden administration? How is it viewing the political drama here in the country?
Well, the White House said that U.S. President Biden had spoken with acting President Han Duck-soo, reaffirming the ironclad commitment of the United States to the people of the ROK, using the abbreviation for South Korea's formal name, the Republic of Korea. Biden also expressed confidence that the alliance between the two countries would remain the linchpin for peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region. Meanwhile, State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that despite the change of leadership in the U.S. and Japan and the passage of impeachment articles against South Korean President Yoon, one thing that remains unchanged is the fundamental interests of all three countries, and it is in the fundamental interests of all three countries to continue the trilateral relationship between the United States, South Korea, and Japan.
Yeah, it is a relief to hear that the security alliance between South Korea, the U.S., and also the trilateral security alliance between Seoul, Washington, Tokyo is solid for now. Now, Chris, before I let you go, I'd like to cover the heated debate over the possibility of TikTok being banned over in the U.S., with the Supreme Court now agreeing to hear arguments next month. What's at stake?
The Supreme Court justices will hear arguments on January 10th. At issue is whether the federal law that was passed in April that calls for the sale of TikTok, or it could face a ban if its Chinese parent company does not sell it, whether that is unconstitutional and violates the First Amendment protections involving free speech. Now, this law set a January 19th deadline for TikTok to be sold or else face a ban in the U.S. The popular social media platform has more than 170 million users in the U.S. Now, it's unclear how quickly a Supreme Court decision might come, but the High Court still could act after the arguments to keep the law from taking effect pending a final ruling if at least five of the 9 justices think that the law is unconstitutional and a violation of First Amendment protections of free speech.
Well, then how is the president-elect trying to handle the issue? I mean, it looks like he does have a warm spot for TikTok since he also met with the TikTok CEO this week, right?
Right. Trump has had a change of heart on TikTok over the past several years, especially since his first administration, his first term in office, when he was one of the people calling to ban TikTok. But now he's pledging, as he did during his campaign, to save TikTok. And like you said, he met with TikTok CEO Shou Zi-chew at Mar-a-Lago on Monday, and he says his administration would take a look at the situation. Now, TikTok's parent company ByteDance says that a shutdown lasting just a month in the U.S. could cause TikTok to lose about 1/3 of its daily users in this country and, of course, significant advertising revenue.
We'll have to get back to you next month. Chris, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Good to be with you again.